What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the difference between an idea allergy and idea intolerance. This can be very confusing. At least it was confusing for me when I first started learning the body code. I'm like, what really is the difference? So we're going to go ahead and talk about that today. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Samantha, and the purpose of this channel is to help you release the past so you can heal yourself and level up your life. So let's go ahead and get started. An idea allergy and idea intolerance is part of the body code system created by Dr. Bradley Nelson, and it is under the category of energy and has its own category. So an idea allergy and idea intolerance is created by you. These are defense mechanisms. So let's talk about that first. How are these created? Whenever we're living our best life, having a human experience, sometimes we get ourselves in situations that create emotions. Anything we see, hear, experience, and so forth, we create an emotion. So when we do not feel and express this emotion and let it be freed into the wild and we hold on to it, it gives us a lot of information, our body a lot of information. So we're still feeling the emotion. It's tied to the memory of when it was created, the reason why it's created, and it will create a limiting belief about you, other people, and the world around you. Now, if this bad boy really hurt you, really did, the subconscious mind's like, oof, that limiting belief is not going to cut it. We're going to have to do a little bit something. We're going to have to put a little extra something on this. And so it will create a defense mechanism. And so it will take that memory associated or linked to this emotion and label everything as dangerous, or label everything that you will feel this emotion again if you come into contact with anything in this memory. So this can be the environment, this can be a voice, this can be a person. If there was food in the environment, if there was a sound, a smell, anything, it takes a screenshot of it. And even some of the stuff leading up to it. So it's trying to use that as a way to protect you in the future. So if you come into contact with anything in that, from that memory, even if it's a different environment but very similar. So if something happened in a Walmart and you go to a Walmart in a different state or a different city, you may still have some emotional responses because a Walmart is a Walmart to your mind, the smell, how it looks. And so it will start unleashing its defense mechanisms to protect you. So that's how your body will create an idea allergy and an idea intolerance. So now let's talk about the difference. An idea allergy is more of a stranger danger. This is life threatening. Whereas an idea intolerance is more of, well, it's not so stranger danger or life threatening. I just don't know how to process or be around this, so I'm going to shut down almost. A perfect example of this is food. You got to always compare things to food, at least in my life. It just makes sense. So we have gluten. There are some people who will have gluten and they will die. They will have a severe reaction to it. That's an allergy. Where everybody else in the world, we can have gluten. It's not life-threatening, but our body doesn't know how to process it. So we feel bloated and gross. We kind of just feel off, maybe sluggish a little bit. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to feel bloated and gross when it comes to an idea intolerance. That's just gluten. So you can see the difference between the two. One is more life-threatening, where this person cannot be around gluten, think about gluten, smell gluten, we're gonna, nope. Can't even be near it. Whereas everybody else, we can't have it and we know it's bad for us, but we still eat it anyways, even though we know the consequences of our actions. It's just how it is. So going back to the idea allergy and the idea intolerance. So when you come in contact with something that is an idea allergy, it is a more aggressive, a more intense reaction. So your body thinks this is life-threatening. This idea is life-threatening because you experienced an intense amount of pain from this. This shook you a bit. And even though, is this idea, is it dangerous? Is it really dangerous? No, it's not. Some people it may, depending on what that snapshot was that's associated with this this emotion. So if it had something to do with a dog or some sort of animal, then maybe, that dog that you're encountering again, it may be dangerous or it may not. but it makes this faulty connection with this idea. And so if you know you're about to come into contact with this, or you are in contact with this, your fight, flight, or freeze response will kick in. Anger, self-sabotage, overwhelm, maybe throw a pocket sand or a flashbang. Maybe you black out and all of a sudden you're at home and you're like, how did I get here? And no one said that these defense mechanisms were pretty. They're not. So if you ever see someone who has a reaction that is, I can't think of the word, over the top. We'll just use that. And a reaction that's over the top and you're just like, why are they reacting that way? It's not that big of a deal. It's because their subconscious mind is freaking out behind the scenes. And it's just like, when we came into contact with this before, we experienced this emotion. So we need to get out of here right now. We don't care how we look. We don't care what we do, as long as we get out of here. So when you start seeing people who react in that way, you can kind of understand like, okay, their mind is freaking out. There's something familiar that is causing a trigger to their subconscious mind to freak out. And same thing with you. If you notice you walk into a store, walk into a Walmart and you start getting anxious and you're like, what is going on? Why do I feel this way? Maybe you start sweating. You're like, okay, there's something familiar. There's something my subconscious mind sees that's kind of associating something from the past when I got hurt. So being aware of how you are reacting does help, and you can kind of freeze and start asking yourself questions. And this takes practice, definitely takes practice. So the idea allergy is very similar to a fear or a phobia. Now let's talk about the idea intolerance. So this is something that is not life-threatening. Your body's like, we don't have to react the same way, but we don't have to be here. And this is where sometimes people get very sleepy, get exhausted. It feels like all the energy got sucked from your body, like got released and you just kind of shut down. A lot of people disassociate. You can feel anxious and overwhelmed. You may shake a little bit. And so that's very similar to what an idea intolerance is. You don't know how to be around it, but you kind of disassociate or you shut down. So if you can't be around a group of people, you may notice that you get very quiet. You kind of observe. It's like you shut down a little bit and you're just the observer of what's going on. And sometimes this can be very subtle and you don't realize that this is happening until after the fact, and you kind of snap out of it and your body's like, you're like, oh, I guess I didn't like that type of thing. So let's do an example of what this may look like. You got your heart broken at a Wendy's. You were at a Wendy's eating something and your significant other dropped a bomb on you like, hey, don't want to be with you anymore. I think we should break up. And so they did it in public so you wouldn't get upset. So then they left and you were left there alone, heartbroken. So time has passed that you've healed from this, but your subconscious mind remembered. Your subconscious mind created defense mechanisms because you held on to this. So now it took a snapshot of the environment. You now, when we're talking about the idea allergy, you can no longer go into a Wendy's. You can't go near a Wendy's. If on your drive, on the way home, there's a Wendy's, you will avoid it. If you see Wendy's on a commercial for Wendy's, you will have a reaction. You may get anxiety. You may turn it off. If you smell fries, you may have a reaction to it. You may get anxious and you get really sad. Idea allergy. Now with the idea intolerance, say you got broken up with, same thing at a Wendy's, your mind kind of takes a picture of it. And so you don't totally avoid Wendy's. I mean, you don't make an effort to go there, but every time you go there, it's almost like you're very social, you're very outgoing, hanging out with your friends. The moment you walk into a Wendy's, you get quiet and you're silent. And you kind of shut down and you get really tired. Like, wow, I'm just really tired. And you're eating your food and still talking with your friends. And you're more just like listening, actively listening, and you're really tired. And then the moment you leave the Wendy's, you all of a sudden have a burst of energy again. So that can be an example of what you can experience. Now, if you see advertisement of Wendy's on the commercial, you may get anxious. You may feel a little overwhelmed, but it's not enough where it's gonna, you look away or you turn the TV off. You just kind of, you feel it, you experience it, you push through it. and you continue with the show that you are currently watching. So that is kind of like a brief overview of what an idea allergy is and an idea intolerance is. Within the body code, there are charts with different things that you can have an idea allergy to or an intolerance to, and your mind is just picking the closest one. It's kind of like, well, it's close to this energy, but it may not be that. Remember, your mind is just using the body code to communicate with us to try to figure out what this energy is so we can get rid of it. Identify and release. That's what we do here with the codes. So you can always customize these statements and have a conversation. Try to think of maybe not the actual statement, because I usually do the example of maybe feeling safe to be yourself, or maybe an idea allergy to being healthy. And sometimes it's not the actual statement, it's what you have to bring in when you achieve that and what you have to release. That's kind of like the stranger danger. So if you are trying to lose weight and you are kind of struggling, you don't know what's going on, your mind created an idea allergy to losing weight, because if you lose weight, what will that bring in? Attention. Maybe your mind thinks unwanted attention. Maybe it means you have to buy new clothes and financially you can't do that. On the other side, what would you have to let go of? Your favorite foods, your relaxation time because you have to go to the gym, and so forth. So don't always focus on the actual statement that comes up. Kind of think about like, okay, if I had this thing, would that affect me in a certain way? Let me look at the chart and see if there's something else that we can kind of talk about. Just briefly, like having energy is a big one. So maybe having an idea allergy to having energy. Well, if you're motivated and you have confidence, then you have to put yourself out there. You have to complete tasks, and the chances of you failing are huge, or being rejected are huge. Just like, you know what, this energy thing, that's not really for us. We ain't gonna co-sign for that type of thing. Let me see if there's another one. Some of these are self-explanatory. Joy and happiness. So you can have an idea allergy to joy or happiness, or have an intolerance to joy and happiness. And a lot of people are just like, what do you mean? Or gratitude comes up too. Like, well, what do you mean by that? I want to be happy. I am grateful for X, Y, and Z. And this isn't to come at you and be like, oh, you're not grateful for anything. No, you just have to see how it fits in your life. So a lot of times when people are happy or excited for something or grateful for something, they feel like it will be taken away. It won't last long, or things never last. It always gets taken away. When's the shoe gonna drop? The next shoe gonna drop. And so since this has happened before or many times, your subconscious mind has labeled joy or happiness or gratitude as stranger danger, something that's not for you, because bad things seem to happen or follow after good things come in. So that's when you kind of really have to think about this. Okay, what about this joy and happiness affects me? And it's like consciously you want to be happy, consciously you want that joy, but subconsciously your mind's like, yeah, but bad things kind of happen. So if we're not happy and we don't have any joy, then we don't have to worry about getting hurt. See how the mind kind of does that? It has its own little ways of protecting you that just doesn't make sense to us. So that is the idea allergy and the idea intolerance. If you have any other questions for me about this, just put it in the comments below. If you want to work with me and knock down some of those idea allergies and idea intolerances, all my information is in the description below. Thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.